Week 4 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few plays I'll buy and trade for. This week, the first guy, Calvin Ridley of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Calvin Ridley, week 1, he came back with a vengeance after getting suspended all last season, where he had a monster game at the Colts, and that one, 8 catches, 101 yards, a touchdown. But the last 2 weeks here, he hasn't done anything. Week 2 versus the Chiefs, 2 catches, 32 yards. And then week 3 versus the Texans, 3 catches, 40 yards. So right now, he's got a pretty good matchup coming up, I believe, here in London in that ball game is Calvin Ridley versus the Atlanta Falcons, where we just saw Ross St. Brown go over 100 yards in that game. Their passing defense isn't all that great. And we know Ridley's a great player and a good receiver. So right now, this Jacksonville offense hasn't been in sync over the last 2 weeks here. And Trevor Lawrence, he's definitely been struggling as well. So I think Ridley gets back on track versus his former team. Obviously, there's going to be some vengeance and revenge on his mind to have a good ball game and show off his team. And I think he bounces back. So right now, he's coming off of 2 poor ball games where he hasn't done much, and maybe people think Ridley just doesn't have it after missing a season. This is a perfect time to buy him low this week. The next guy is Darren Waller of the New York Giants. And Darren Waller so far, 2 pretty bad games and 1 good game in PPR leagues at the tight end position. But we know tight end's a weak position. This Giant team, they versed 2 top defenses in the first 3 weeks here, the Cowboys and the Niners in week 1 and week 3. And Waller so far this season, week 1 versus the Cowboys, 3 catches, 36 yards. Week 2 at Arizona, 6 catches, 76 yards. And week 3 at the Niners, only 3 catches, 20 yards. So the targets have been there. I know Waller, he had a couple balls that he could have caught in that week 3 ball game at the Niners, but he just couldn't make plays. But this week here, Monday Night Football, I think he can make plays versus Seattle defense. I don't think their defense is all that great. They got some holes in the middle of it, even though Jamal Adams earned in this ball game. But Darren Waller, he's been a top 5 tight end for many seasons. Obviously, just injuries have been a problem for him, but right now it seems like he's pretty healthy for this Giant team. I know he's had a barking hamstring coming into preseason, but right now with 10 days off, I think he could get right. And right now, he hasn't done much, like I said, on the season here. He's a perfect buy low candidate this week. The next guy is Breece Hall of the New York Jets. So Breece Hall, he was on the list last week, and once again, a bad performance it was for Breece Hall. But it's tough, obviously, where the Jets have a bad offensive line and a quarterback where teams are daring Zach Wilson to try to beat him, where they're just stacking the box and stopping Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook, obviously. So Breece Hall, week 1, had a monster game, 10 carries, 127 rush yards, a catch, 20 yards, even though 84 of those yards were on 1 play in that one. Then week 2 with Dallas, only 4 carries, 9 yards in that ball game. And then week 3 versus the Patriots, they did a good job in that one, stuffing the run. 12 carries, 18 yards, a catch, 9 yards. So I think this Jet team, honestly, they got to go out there and get a veteran quarterback that could at least open the field up a little bit and make this running game at least serviceable, because I think Breece Hall is a top 10 talent in this league here at the running back position. I know if you watch the videos, I mention it pretty much every week, but you could just see you with Breece Hall. But he's got a bad offensive line, a bad quarterback, and right now things need to be changed. But right now, while he's struggling and he still has home run ability, is Breece Hall. This is a perfect time to buy him low, because right now, value's the lowest it could be, and you don't have to give up much to get him at all. The play is Justin Fields for the Chicago Bears. So Justin Fields, he's been pretty tough to own this season here. I actually have him in a few leagues, and right now it's been tough to watch, and he's just too much in his head right now as Justin Fields. Want to get Justin Fields, it's obviously reasonable for fantasy owners to just go out on the waiver wire and pick up a quarterback instead of trying to make a deal here for Fields. But right now his value is super low. We know the breakout ability and the big play ability we saw last season, where it just clicked from him from week 5 on. He's putting on huge performances, but so far this season, he hasn't done anything as Fields. Week 1 versus Green Bay, 216 pass yards, a touchdown, and into 59 rushing, a fumble loss. Week 2 at Tampa Bay, 211 pass yards, a touchdown, 2 windows, 3 rush yards, a touchdown. And then week 3 at the Chiefs, 99 pass yards, where most of that was in garbage time, down 41-3 at one point with an interception and 47 rush yards. I know week 4 he's got a good matchup on paper versus the Broncos, where we've seen guys like Sam Howell carve him up. We saw the Dolphins just drop 70 points, which is outrageous. You haven't seen that knows how long in the NFL. A team dropping 70 points. So right now, good matchup, like I said, versus the Broncos. Fields upside is running the football, even though this season he's been holding on to the football way too long, and he's been in his head a lot, and he got shaken up as well in that ball game versus Kansas City, but he came back in. So right now, while Fields hasn't done anything and he struggled mightily, he's definitely a player and a quarterback I look to buy this week, and you don't have to give up much to get him. And if he struggles, you just don't play him on your team. Next play is Javonte Williams of the Denver Broncos. So Javonte Williams coming into the season, obviously he's coming off an ACL, which takes a year and a half to come back to 100%. But Javonte Williams so far this year, we haven't seen much out of him. Week 1 versus Vegas, 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 catches, 5 yards. Week 2 versus Washington, 12 carries, 44 yards, 2 catches, 14 yards. In week 3 in Miami, 11 carries, 42 yards, 2 catches, 23 yards. So right now, this Bronco team, they're 0-3 on the season. They've been throwing the football a whole lot with Russell Wilson, where his numbers are inflated as well. But week 4 is a good matchup with the Chicago Bears. That just can't stop anyone. We saw McKinnon have a good game. We saw Pacheco run well and have a good ball game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire find the end zone. And like I said, the ACL takes a while, but as long as Javonte Williams has been out there and he beat his week 1 timetable, which is impressive to me, that he's a hard worker and a guy who wants to play and get on the field. He's right now a player you don't have to give up much to get on your roster, where in PPR leagues this season, he only has 0.6 fantasy points right now, is Javonte Williams. So right now, if you need a running back, this is a time to go out there and make a move. We know running backs been weak this season with injuries and just guys underperforming. And I think Williams is a number 2 running back flex option. Is a decent guy to go out there and buy. This week, the next guy is Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones, he was warming up in that ball game for the Packers, running on the field. And to be honest, he looked pretty good, but he just didn't give it a go. So he sat out week 2 and week 3. And with the short week, I think him and Christian Watson are both going to return for this Packer team on Thursday Night Football in week 4 here versus the Lions. So week 1, it was a great ball game at the Bears here for Aaron Jones, where he had 9 carries, 41 yards, a touchdown, and 2 catches and 86 yards with a touchdown. And that's where the hamstring went on that touchdown run, coming off a slant, and he just took it to the house for 50-plus yards. But anyway, Aaron Jones, we know, is a talented running back. And right now, I think, like I said, he's going to come back in week 4 here, where it was a short week. They gave him the 2 weeks off, get that hamstring ready. Obviously, that's an injury that can linger all season. But like I said, Aaron Jones is a top 10, 15 talent at the running back position. And right now, while he hasn't played over the last couple weeks, this is a perfect time to go out there and buy him this week. And the final player I look to buy and trade for is Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. So Lockett, when it's all said and done, year in and year out, he's an 1,000-yard wide receiver. And there's going to be ball games where he only has 4 or 5 fantasy points. And then there's games he breaks out for 20, 25 fantasy points. So on the season, week 1 versus the Rams, 2 catches, 10 yards. Week 2 with Detroit, 8 catches, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then week 3 versus the Carolina Panthers, 3 catches, 34 yards, and a 2-point conversion. So like I said, Tyler Lockett's definitely an inconsistent wide receiver, but he's like a wide receiver 2 flex option for most fantasy owners. In week 4, he's got a good matchup at the New York Giants, where they got a lot of rookies over there in the secondary. Lockett definitely could take advantage of that. And most defenses roll coverage to DK Metcalf. So this is a good wide receiving core, no doubt about it, for the Seattle Seahawks team. With Metcalf, Lockett, Smith-Njigba, the rookie over there, who's going to start getting more and more playing time, I believe. So right now, while Lockett's had 2 bad games pretty much in PPR leagues and 1 monster game, this is a time to go out there and buy him, because like I said, when it's all said and done at the end of the year, the numbers are there, and there's just going to be great games and games where he doesn't do much. That's a few plays I look to buy and trade for in week 4 of the fantasy football season.